are many types of availability controls. They all can be set at a hotel level, rate level, or room type level. These controls are used in isolation or combination depending on the situation and the lead time. It is, however, recommended to keep it simple. In this lesson, only hotel-level examples will be presented to avoid complexity. Let's look at 4 key availability controls one by one, including what they are, when they are used, and how. Availability Control 1. Minimum length of stay. A minimum length of stay on arrival restriction controls availability by defining the number of nights threshold to book stays, including a restriction on the arrival date. When is it used? Minimum length of stay can be used in a hotel where a high demand is forecasted, few busy nights in a row, followed by a period lower demand. Basically, in a plateau situation. How? Assume that Tuesday and Wednesday are high demand periods for a hotel, followed by a slump on a Thursday. The revenue manager would want to set a rule only allowing guests willing to stay on Tuesday and Wednesday to book if they also stay on Thursday. To do this, he or she will set an MS3 minimum stay, i.e., a minimum stay of 3 nights, on the Tuesday and MS2 on a Wednesday. Therefore, the minimum stay X night value is defined by the number of high demand days to restrict plus 1. Availability Control 2. Maximum length of stay. A maximum length of stay on arrival restriction controls availability by defining the maximum number of nights that can be booked for the stay, including the restriction date as the arrival date. When is it used? This is quite handy for resorts or tourist-driven hotels with high demand on multi-nights discounted packages. This control is used when you are expecting to be able to fill the hotel at a higher rate. Using a maximum length of stay control allows limiting the number of rooms sold at a large discount during the high-rate excess demand periods, by limiting the discounted multi-night stays extending into that period. How? Imagine a business hotel experiencing low demand during the Valentine's weekend. They set up a romantic offer with a discounted rate which will be limited to 3 nights. The revenue manager doesn't want guests to avail the rate beyond the weekend days as a large exhibition in town on the following Tuesday is driving demand. In this specific example, the stay restriction is applied on one specific discounted rate code. To do this, use the start of the sold-out period as a guide to determine the maximum length of stay allowable for discount customers. To accommodate guests who would like to stay at the hotel longer than maximum length, it is possible to charge 2 rates and do a split booking: the discount rate for nights up to the maximum and the bar rate for the subsequent nights. Availability Control 3. Minimum length of stay through. A minimum length of stay through restrictions controls the availability by defining the number of nights required for the stay, including restriction date in any part of the stay date range. When is it used? Revenue managers use this when they identify an excess demand peak. The idea is to prevent the peak to happen or to flatten it as it is already shaping on the books. How? Let's take the example of a hotel with a forecasted peak of demand on Wednesday. Without intervention, on a first-come, first-service, the hotel will fill up the one-night stays. The revenue can therefore set a minimum stay through 2 nights on the Wednesday. It means that only inquiries of at least 2 nights will be given availability if the Wednesday is involved. Availability Control 4. Close to arrival. A close to arrival restriction stops arrival of certain guests when you expect to reach maximum occupancy. When is it used? This control can be used to restrict arrivals during a time when you expect to reach maximum occupancy through guests staying on at the hotel for multiple nights, through stayovers as opposed to through new arrivals. Using this control makes sense if you believe you would achieve higher occupancy by selecting a particular set of guests, i.e., those arriving before the close to arrival date. How? Put simply, a hotel will not expect reservations for arrivals on the day in question and allow guests staying through from the previous night only. So, if we assume that a hotel expects to be fully booked on a Wednesday, thanks to a residential conference for which guest total revenue will exceed other segments' contribution, the revenue manager would set a close to arrival restriction on the Wednesday. Other availability controls. There are two other availability controls commonly seen in hotels: no departure or close to departure. When close to departure is set for a date, a guest can't book this date if their stay ends on this date. However, if the stay includes the date without being the departure date, then it remains bookable. Maximum length of stay-through. A maximum length of stay-through restriction controls availability by defining the maximum number of nights bookable for stays including the restriction date in any part of the stay date range.